Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day, enjoying some sunshine and fresh air. Today we're going to continue with our steps. We had step 6 yesterday with Bleed in Kansas and our good friend John Brown, who felt emboldened to take it upon himself and free all the slaves. Did so by murdering slave owners and non-slave owners in Kansas. But he's not done there. He actually fled Kansas. He's a fugitive now, and he is going to continue his experience out east as well, because John Brown had formulated this plan, right? This abolition, freeing the slaves plan since 1848. And he was really ultimately trying to create a slave rebellion. That's really what he was hoping to accomplish. So after Bleed in Kansas, John Brown is going to run back east and plan this sort of the second part to his slave rebellion. And he's going to work with other abolitionists. He's going to form a quote-unquote army. The other abolitionists that he worked with were anonymous to come up with this. They were known as his Secret Six. And his idea with his army, and so when I say army, I mean there's like 22 guys with him, including his own sons, as well as a handful of freed slaves. They were going to raid an arsenal in Harper's Ferry, Virginia, because to John Brown, his thought was, if I give slaves weapons, if I weaponize them, they'll be able to free themselves. They're not able to free themselves because they don't have the weapons. If I give them the weapons, they could free themselves. So again, these are all very rational thoughts by John Brown. Anyway, so he's going to attack the arsenal in Harper's Ferry, Virginia. And when this happens, amazingly enough, Colonel Robert E. Lee of the United States Marines is going to be sent in, along with his lieutenant, who's somebody else we're going to see in the Civil War as well, who will fight for the South. The two of them, right, if you've heard of Robert E. Lee before, he's the general of the South during the Civil War. Anyway, at this point in time, that's not happening, right? He's fighting for the United States government, and he's a colonel at this point, and he's sent in to take down John Brown in this raid on Harper's Ferry, Virginia. Robert E. Lee will be successful. A handful of people will be killed in all of this. And John Brown, though he's injured, he's not killed. And he's brought back to court for treason and for murder. And he will be found guilty on both accounts. He will eventually be hanged in 1959. Now, once that happens, John Brown becomes a martyr. And again, he's sort of a polarizing character. You either love him or you hate him based on his actions. If you're from the South, you obviously hate him. If you're from the North, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, he had kind of a good idea, but the way that he did it wasn't great. That sort of behavior. But at the same time, John Brown was tired of waiting for the government to act, because they weren't, right? James Buchanan was a doughface, so he's not acting. So John Brown took it upon himself to do so. Now, John Brown becomes a martyr in the North. There was actually a song from the 1850s that was sung at many camp meeting associations. So camp meeting association was actually like a religious movement. So there was all sorts of camp meetings all throughout the United States. A camp meeting was like Christians who would gather together for like a week or so to worship and praise and all of that and read the Bible. And a song was written, a camp meeting association that became very, very popular. Well, once the Civil War breaks out, Union soldiers are going to change the words to the song, and the song will be known as John Brown's Body. Now, I want you to listen, because I think you're going to recognize the tune, because the song is going to change once more. So listen carefully.
John Brown's body lies a-mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a-mouldering in the grave. John Brown's body lies a-mouldering in the grave, but his soul goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. soul goes marching on. The stars above in heaven are looking kindly down. The stars above in heaven are looking kindly down. The stars above in heaven are looking kindly down on the grave of old John Brown. Glory, glory,
Okay, so I think
hallelujah.
you may have heard that song before, and obviously that the captioning got that way wrong. And in the beginning, he says, John Brown's body lies a mouldering in the grave, is what it's supposed to be. In any case, have you heard that song before? I think you've heard that song before because it is the Battle Hymn of the Republic, right? So when I think of the Battle Hymn of the Republic, I think of like Elvis specifically, right? Because I feel like he sang that all the time. Anyway, let's fast forward this. Oh, I could listen to that all day. That was beautiful. The song John Brown, right, became sort of an anthem for Union soldiers during the Civil War. And they would sing it while they were marching south. So from town to town, while they were marching, they would sing songs. And John Brown's Body was one of the songs that they would sing. And eventually, this song will be picked up by the woman who wrote it. Gosh, who wrote it? Now I'm losing. Who wrote the battle? Did that just say who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic? No, it was a girl. Julia Ward Howe. So Julia Ward Howe, she heard Union soldiers walking by, and heard this song and was inspired by it. And so she sat down to the melody of it and she wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Anyway, so it all just sort of goes back to John Brown and his becoming a legend in the North specifically. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. You have a handout that goes along with this. You have some primary documents that you will be looking at about John Brown right here. And you're going to read the primary documents, and some of them are written in favor of John Brown's action, and some of them are written against John Brown's actions. So what I want you to do is I want you to read it and then tell me if it supports John Brown or if it doesn't, and why do you feel that way. And then on the bottom, I want you to tell me whether or not John Brown is a hero or a villain, and I want you to use specific documents or the notes that we just talked about. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a super day. Bye, guys.